At that time, Jesus told his disciples a parable to the effect that they ought always to pray and not to lose heart. He said, "In a certain city there was a judge who neither feared God nor respected man. And there was a widow in that city who kept coming to him and saying, 'Give me justice against my adversary.' For a while he refused, but afterwards he said to himself, 'Though I neither fear God nor respect man, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will give justice, so that she will not beat me down by her continual coming.' And the Lord said, 'Hear what the unrighteous judge says. And will not God give justice to his elect, who cry to him day and night? Will he delay long over them? I tell you, he will give justice to them speedily. Nevertheless, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on earth?'" The Gospel of the Lord. My dear brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ, in our times, perhaps there is some thinking in some quarters that the greatest obstacle to human development, flourishing, is the very reality of religious faith. There are people in our world that are actively working to spread the new atheism, believing that it will rid human beings of all backward thinking and keep people looking forward. But the greatest tragedies in human history have always happened when God has been thrown out of the picture. Just think of Nazi Germany, or think about communist Russia. The greatest injustices against humanity have been actually done when God has been thrown out of the picture. When I was a graduate student, I used to be studying about how engines work and how machinery work as a student of mechanical engineering. But I had an experience while going down the road one day to college of this amazing sound of an engine from a supercar just whizzing past me. This experience remained with me for a long time, and my reflection on this experience was, while I was studying about how engines work, taking them down part by part, it all seemed like something very dry and boring. But when I heard the engine passing by me and I looked at that beautiful design of the car, my heart was filled with wonder. Sometimes when we analyze reality and we try to find out how it works, we lose a sense of wonder about the reality itself. And this is where prayer comes into the picture. In the first reading, we see that the people of Israel, even at the time when the book of wisdom was written, kept the memory alive of the wonder of what God had done in the history of Israel when God parted the Red Sea and made way for them to walk through the waters and enter into the promised land. They kept this memory alive so that they would never forget the wonders that God had worked in their life, and that wonder would keep them joyful in the day-to-day life that they lived, in the drudgery of their work and their business and their ups and downs in life. They would always live with a sense of gratitude to God and a sense that He is truly present even in the ordinary circumstances of their life. For us too, prayer is important, not just so that we may obtain from God what we desire, but also to retain this sense of wonder in the midst of our ordinary life. Jesus asks at the end of today's gospel, will he find faith on earth when he comes again to judge the living and the dead? And that is the challenge for you and for me as Christians, that we may persevere in prayer, especially in moments of dryness of temptation, of trial and difficulty. Let us never forget the ways in which God has worked in the past in our life. And let that sense of wonder be nourished by our time of prayer. When we set apart a time and a space for prayer, a time and space dedicated to God, we remind ourselves that in the midst of the hustle and bustle of our daily life, we want to make God central to us. We want to proclaim that God is important for us and that God will sustain us in those dark and difficult moments where we feel that He is not there. A discipline of prayer helps us to nurture that sense of wonder, that sense of presence, that sense of God's accompaniment through our difficult moments in life. In the Eucharist, Jesus comes to strengthen you and me, especially in our difficult moments, to help us to trust in Him. And we look back at what God has done upon the cross for us, and we are reminded not just of His power, but also about His amazing love for us. Whenever we partake of the Eucharist, let us be reminded of God's power and His love for us. Amen.